What's up, my friends? Welcome to today's episode of Forte Catholic. I'm so excited that you are here. We've got a great show for you today. Father Anthony Sciarappa joins me for some great conversations that I kind of thrust upon him, and he just kind of, had to go with the flow. We talked about what is sacrilege? Are we doing sacrilege? And I proposed that a recent song that came out is the most sacrilegious song that I've ever heard. We also talk about the opposites. We talk about some very holy things and some very holy places. Father Anthony shares why go on any pilgrimage, why going to holy sites makes us feel closer to God, and why it's a good experience. He talks about some of his favorite places in Assisi and Rome, which is the pilgrimage that we are taking next June. We'd love for you guys to join us. We also talk about the guy who invented the term Yolo and how it means something different than we might understand it today. And finally, we play our imitate, intercess, or ignore game with our favorite saints whose feast days are in this month, November. So we hope that you enjoyed today's show. If you do, please hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss all the great stuff that we have going on here on the podcast and our YouTube channel. Thank you guys and enjoy today's show. What's up? Welcome to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll. That is Father Anthony Donaldson Sciarappa. How are you, Father Anthony?
I'm doing all right. How are you, Taylor?
I'm doing well. I had a very productive day this morning as a fly flies into my face. Welcome also to the fly. All the listeners and this fly that just flew into my face. I had a very productive morning this morning. I ran errands, and I never run errands. I got a bunch of new stuff. I got this new background for the show. Do you like it?
Yeah, it's great. It's reminiscent of the old background, but it's a little bit new, so it's good.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I think it's helping with shadows. There's, it's not as shiny. There's a very shiny wall behind me, so I have to put something that captures light on behind it. I went to, let's see, all the places that I went today. I went and returned things at the UPS store. I bought this at a fabric store. So me and all the women over 95 hung out in Joann's Fabrics this morning.
Nice.
I felt very out of place. I went to Walmart, bought a bunch of stuff. Went to Chick-fil-A. I went and bought stamps. I went and bought Powerball tickets. So as y'all are listening to this, I might be a billionaire by now. Who knows?
Maybe.
If I'm a billionaire, the show probably isn't releasing. So.
Yeah.
I'll have bought a fancier priest with that money.
Absolutely, as you should.
I went and got my oil changed. It's just a very productive day today. I didn't do any work stuff, but very productive. How's your day been going?
Good, busy. We had mass, funerals, meetings, that sort of thing. Regular priest day, to be honest. But things are going all right.
Mass, funerals, and paperwork sounds boring. Your life is way more boring than mine. I mean, I got to hang out with the old ladies at Joann's. Your life is boring.
I mean, if you want to hang out with old ladies, I do that literally all the time. That's
the funerals.
Yeah.
Womp womp. Speaking of that kind of, just the great stuff that we bring you every week. I want to thank people for leaving good reviews to cover up a bad review that we got. People have been very, very kind. We got another one, another bad review. So we didn't get any reviews, and then we got one bad review. And then I asked people very kindly, hey, can you go leave some reviews to cover up that bad one? And then people gave a bunch of 5-star reviews, a bunch of really kind people. So thank you for that. And then on top of that one, the newest one we have is a 1-star review, and it was they're having a really good time, but I'm not. And I'm like, man, I totally feel that. I totally understand walking to a room, everybody's having a good time, and you're not. It's I understand that you're curmudgeon-y, and you can't have fun when other people are having fun, but that 1 star is for you, buddy, not for us.
Yeah. You get the 1 star.
You get the 1 star.
You who are bad at friends.
Yeah, I'm not as worried about that one. So today I want to talk about something that some people have accused us of doing. Are you ready for this?
What have they accused us of?
Today I would like to talk about sacrilege.
Oh, has this podcast been accused of sacrilege before?
I think so. What would be your definition of sacrilege, Father Anthony Sciarappa?
Desecration of a sacrament.
Desecration of a sacrament. It's a very specific very specific thing. Do you think that's the Catholic definition? Because I have a more broad understanding of
I
sacrilege.
assume so. Like that's like otherwise it's like irreverence or something like that. Sacrilege is a really big accusation in my book.
Okay, so I thought it was a little less, I mean, not less severe, but less specific. I thought it was just like desecration of holy things, right?
Yeah,
so not just the sacraments, but like, if you're being sacrilegious, you're making, like taking the Lord's name in vain, making fun of priests, making fun of mass, making fun of bishops or whatever. Like I've heard all that stuff being called sacrilege. Would you agree or no?
Yeah, no, I've heard that, but people throw around big words for little things. Hey, I gotta back up. This guy who gave you the 1-star review, I think this guy just goes around giving Catholics 1-star reviews because he's definitely given my podcast a 1-star review as well. So he's just a cranky person.
His review of y'all's was, these two guys are not enjoying themselves and neither am I.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I was like, but anyway, yeah. I mean, I like if someone says something sacrilegious, fine, whatever. I don't know. It's like when people call everything a heresy when technically certain things aren't heresies. There's different kinds of bad, but. Sure.
So I'm usually not bothered by. Let's put it this way. I usually don't take something as sacrilegious that some people might think would be sacrilegious. Like my barometer for that, I think, from working in the church and being in the church, I feel like it's one of those things that, like, if me and you can kind of poke fun, like we've poked fun at things like in the scriptures before, right? Yeah, where we take a story and we're like, hey, this is hilarious. Like there was a good example from this last weekend's mass. I'm sad I didn't pick it up. Jennifer, who's helped teaching our foundations course, I know some of y'all watch those videos on YouTube. She noticed that in the first reading this past weekend from Maccabees, where the guy or the kids are all dying, right? They're all being killed for their faith, and it says first that the kid walked up, stuck out his tongue and his hands, and then he gave this eloquent speech. But if he has his tongue out, his eloquent speech was...
I did have the same thought.
See, I didn't. My thought was... My first thought about the hands and the tongue was like, if I did that to you as the priest giving communion, it's like, like, what do you do? I have my hands out and my tongue out. What are you supposed to do?
This has happened before, either by accident or people sometimes throw me off with what they're going to do. Or they switch up at the last second. Like, they don't have their hands up at all. And so I go to place it on their tongue, and they get really offended, then stick out their hands. It's like, well, you gave me the wrong signal. This is not my fault. This is totally your fault. So it does happen.
Yeah, loser. It's totally your fault.
No, it's all their fault. And also, they tried to like say amen after they stuck out their tongue, and they'll go, amen. It's like, that was funny.
Yeah, silly people. My biggest takeaway was, he gave his eloquent speech. Yes. And then everybody in attendance, even the people killing him, were like so amazed by what he said. And then the next sentence is, and then he died. Anyways, the next brother, like it was just, his death was so valiant. Moving on to the next person.
There's more brothers. There's a whole like line of brothers. You gotta keep it going. Torture, death.
So like that kind of stuff is what we do here on the show. Like we have some fun around some religious things. But I don't think it's sacrilegious, right? I think there are some Catholics who have said that we take the jokes and stuff a little too far.
I thought you were going to say this podcast is more like torture and death. We sometimes make fun of things. Sure.
No, we're the only Catholic podcast that doesn't sound like that Maccabees kid trying to talk while having his tongue sticking out of his mouth.
The only one. Agreed.
So that's kind of like that kind of stuff doesn't bother me because that's how I think, and that's kind of what the show is like they're trying to have some fun around some faith-based stuff. But every now and then, especially like in our pop culture, things can go too far, right? Like I think one that I thought was too far, that everybody thought was too far, was like the Lil Nas X having like satanic shoes with blood in them or whatever. It's like, okay, man, like that's a little too far, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to music, like I can often appreciate art for being art. I'm not expecting art to be my theology, right?
Sure.
So like songs, you remember the song? It was, I don't know, 7-8 years ago now. Time's a weird thing because the last 2 years have been all wonky. But
yeah,
you remember that song? Take me to church, I'll worship like a dog at the shrine of your lies. Do you remember that song?
Yeah.
There were so many Catholics that were like, "Oh, this is so bad. It's making the church look bad. It's making priests look bad." And I'm just like, I don't know, man. I can kind of relate to it after some church hurt and being hurt by some people in the church. It's like, He's not promoting the church, but it's kind of like I can relate with this person in this scenario through his art, so I wasn't bothered by it. Do you remember?
Sure.
Like, do you remember that song enough to know? Like, did you have a problem with it?
I mean, it's like, I don't know. I don't care for that kind of stuff, but I don't get like all riled up about it at the same time. It's like, okay, someone made a dumb song, great, good for you, good. I'm gonna go listen to something else. Right. That's kind of how I usually treat. Like, oh wow, okay, yeah, you said something wrong about the church. That's kind of like everyone everywhere does that.
Right.
Good for you for being edgy or whatever.
Yeah. There's another one from the women's side of the table, Ariana Grande, who I think might be my favorite pop artist ever. She's incredible, and she sounds as good as she looks. I just am a huge fan of Ariana Grande, and Ariana Venti, her older sister, not as cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boo.
1-star review for this podcast.
1-star review for that joke. Yikes.
But she had a song called God is a Woman, right? And like, if you just said that statement, God is a woman, like from Christian tradition, like he calls himself Father. Jesus was a man. God is not a woman. He is either non-gendered, or when he has tried to gender himself, he has been a he, not a she. Like there have been times where it's been like, oh, Mother Earth and motherly attributes, Old Testament, right?
Sure.
Fine. Like I get that, right? But people are getting really mad about it, saying that God is a woman. And I'm like, if you listen to the song, it's not really what she's saying. She's saying that in a certain moment, when a man and a woman really love each other, that after you'll believe for a moment that God is a woman. It's like, okay, I can, again, art-wise, I can understand where you're coming from. Okay? Those two songs that bothered most of Christendom did not bother me. There's a song that just came out that I think might be the most satanic song ever.
Wow. That's a big claim.
Most satanic pop song ever. I mean, I'm sure Satan worshipers have songs that are like the opposite of hallelujah to Satan or whatever. Like
that's actually the name of one of the singles from the band. We like opposite. Satan a bunch. Yeah.
We like Satan a bunch. But there's a song that is incredibly catchy, constantly stuck in my head, and incredibly just everything about the song, it's just an earworm, and it's eating away at who I am because I hate this song, and I sing it 18 times a day because it's constantly stuck in my head.
Uh-oh.
Sam Smith, Unholy, is the most satanic pop song that I think has ever come out.
Oh, really? I see. I have not heard this song because I live in a box.
A box? Why not a bubble? Like, why?
You know what? Because I forgot the word for bubble, and then I just had to finish up the sentence, and thought of a container. Box it was.
So, this song, incredibly catchy. It got really popular on TikTok before it came out, to the public or whatever.
Is that just how music works now?
Yeah.
So you release your songs as clips on TikTok?
Yeah. Incredibly catchy. I actually, I was jamming to the song because there's even a TikTok that's very famous and, used as well as the song. Because then this is how the TikTok goes. Because you can't understand what he's saying. That's the TikTok thing, right? So it's Mommy Don't Know Daddy's Getting Hot at the Body Shop doing something unholy. And I couldn't even understand the word unholy. It's the name of the song, which I didn't realize until the song came out, right?
Okay,
so the crux of the song, the title of the song, it's literally called Unholy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just from the title of the song alone, it's I'm not immediately judging it because it's take me to church or God is a woman. It's I didn't take those things at face value, and I actually kind of dug into them and be like, okay, I can get why people are frustrated, but it doesn't bother me, right?
Okay.
This one, the more I dug into it, the more I was like, oh, Satan's behind he's pulling the strings. He's the reason this song is number one. So I watched the video, which I wish I could take back.
Oh no, Taylor, what are you doing to yourself?
Like most pop videos, it's there's people scantily clad, stuff like that. Okay, fine. That stuff doesn't really bother me, but whatever. But when they started doing the sign of the cross, these people who are clearly not believers, right? Doing the sign of the cross every time they said unholy. Yeah. I'm just that's the definition of sacrilege. You're taking something that is a religious symbol, a religious prayer, and saying the words unholy on it and doing unholy things while it's happening. there's satanic imagery. It's all bathed in red. They're literally people wearing like demon ears. What are they called?
Horns? Why are we so bad at words today?
No, I want to know now. Is that how they hear?
Yes.
Do they have other ears?
I assume so. I don't know.
Are they like bats? Like sonar?
That's more like so they can pick up internet. That's their Wi-Fi signal.
Right. Yeah. All that 5G down in hell.
Yes, all the 5G in hell. Mm-hmm.
And it's all about, the song is about, a man and a woman, and she doesn't know that he's cheating on her, and you think it could be a woman. After the video, it might be a guy, and then the woman at the end turns out to be a guy. Like, I was so confused, and like
sounds confusing.
The whole like gender confusion thing, I was incredibly confused. Like the whole video was confusing, and I just noticed that like my entire thing is bathed in red light.
Oh yes.
Red
Okay. Yeah.
I was like, oh no. That's why I wear the hat, so that my ears/horns don't show.
There you go.
It really bothered me, and it bothers me even more that the song is so catchy that I keep singing it every day, even though I've decided I hate this song.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I think that's a lot of times Christians can get all riled up about music, and I understand why, because it is a very powerful thing. That's why we use music in liturgy. That's why we use it in prayer. That's why religions have kind of always used music. There's something powerful about it. And just like anything that is kind of powerful or moving in that way, you can use it for bad stuff or for good stuff. And it's tough because at one hand, there is a subjective nature to music, right? Whether you like the song, it makes you feel a certain way, but also there seems to be something objective about it as well. And trying to parse that, can be difficult. But when you have lyrics like that, it's pretty objective what's going on in the music video. That's not good.
I just like, and it's one of those things that I knew that if it bothered me, like if you got it to bother me, like there's something really wrong with this, right?
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, that's weird.
And okay, so on the sacrilege stuff. So where's the line then, right? Because obviously I have my own line, but that does I tend to think that I'm right on stuff, but clearly I don't have a perfectly formed conscience. I'm not a completely holy person, so I could be wrong. But obviously I'm making the decision that I think is best, right? So like I have my line, and my line is somewhere between Ariana Grande and Unholy by Sam Smith, right? Some people's lines a little bit before, like all three of those songs are bad. Some people's lines is they don't care at all. Like I like, what is the line for sacrilege for somebody who is a Catholic? Like when am I don't know if committing is the right word, committing a sacrilege, saying sacrilege. I just don't know where that line is.
I think, if you're trying to draw a line at where's sacrilege, then you've done something wrong already. We don't have to go all the way to figuring out whether something we enjoy as sacrilege should be like, is this worth it? Is this beneficial to me? Is this a good thing? When it comes to music, leisure, how you spend your free time, these sort of things, like, it's not like you only have so many options. It's not like there's only like 5 songs in the world you have to listen to. Like, why would you put yourself at risk to be desensitized to certain things? It doesn't seem worth it. You don't have to go all the way to like, oh, is it sacrilegious? Like, or is it okay? I think a lot of times when people keep going back and forth whether a book is good for them to read or not, and they get nervous about it, some of that can be scrupulosity, and some of that's the difficult thing to navigate. But in general, it's like if you're getting stressed out about whether or not this thing is good for you, then why are you doing it? You're stressing yourself out worrying about whether or not this book or this movie or this video game is good for you. Then you just go find something else. It's not like we have like only 3 entertainment options. So I would just suggest that you don't worry about drawing the line at sacrilege. Go back earlier in the process to figure out whether something's worthwhile.
But it's too late for that, because I've already like taken in all of these things, right? So there's this scripture about like there's something scripture about the sin isn't what goes in, but what comes out, right?
Sure.
So I'm less worried about the things that come into my life and more about the things that are going out, like things that I say, things that I do. I like. So I guess I'm thinking of things that people could accuse me of saying were sacrilegious, like on this show, right? Like, and every now and then it is like I'm either pushing the boundaries for an entertainment purpose, or I'm pushing the boundaries for some kind of theological purpose, right? Like trying to like see and kind of test my understanding and the audience and understanding of certain things. So like when I say something, I mean, this one's clearly a joke, but it's something like that. Something that has been a theme of the show. It's like Jesus never apologized, and I need to be like Jesus in every way, so I'm never going to apologize. Like
Right.
that's like I know it's like it's quote unquote just a joke, right? But is that a 1 out of 10 on the sacrilegious scale? Like it's stuff like that, right? Or or where we make fun of priests, which could be seen as sacrilegious, or we make fun of things that happen in mass, or we make fun of things that happen in the scriptures, right? That's more what I'm worried about, is the things that come out of my mouth, not the things that are going into my eyeballs.
The thing is, the things that go into your eyeballs can affect what comes out of your mouth as well, right? It's
yes, but my point is, I've already watched all of that. I'm still worried about the things coming out.
Yeah,
you keep going back to the thing I don't care about at all.
Well, I think that's. I mean, I think that's important though. But anyway, so then what's your question then? Where things end up on that So you've flooded your brain with all these things that aren't good, and now you're worried about what happens next. It's like, well, first of all, don't flood yourself with stuff that's not good.
Stop it! Stop repeating the same thing. But what comes out of a Catholic person's mouth that is sacrilege?
I think it has to do with, is humor being used to celebrate something? Is humor being used to put a new lens onto something? Is it done out of love, or is it done out of malice, degradation, trying to make something unserious? I think that's whether or not what you're saying is appropriate or not. And I think there's limits depending on how holy the thing is. Little traditions, little Catholic quirks and stuff. That stuff's very fair game. You can make fun of Catholics being goofy about how they genuflect, or what they eat on Fridays. That stuff's not that big a deal. When you get into the sacraments, or we get to some of the things about the Lord, then you have to be a little bit more careful. Not everything's up for grabs. But even when you are joking about those things, like, is it done in celebration, or is it done in some sort of derogatory way? Does that make sense?
It does, and that helps, because I think that, like, I don't know, put an arbitrary percentage, like 80 to 90% of what I say on the show, off the show, when I'm just talking with people or whatever, it's like I'm mostly trying to represent the church well, right?
Sure.
But every now and then, if I get my feelings hurt, or if I really don't like something, I think maybe 10 to 20% of the jokes that I make might be at the detriment of the church, or whatever I'm making fun of, right? So I think, every joke has some truth to it, right? I think most of my jokes are jokes, and some of them have some truth behind them,
Yeah.
So I think that is a good line. It comes down to intention, right? And I think one thing that I've thought about that kind of like helps me feel safe to talk the way that I do is that I think, I've been doing this for 7 years, and like the audience has come to know me, right? And I think most people that have listened to me or know me know that it's mostly coming from a good place, right?
Sure.
For the most part, right?
Yeah.
I'll lash out every now and then, but like for the most part, it's like we're doing it like what you were saying, right? The jokes for the and ending up building up the faith and thinking about things in a new way. Okay, fine. But I'm wondering, I'm like, in 7 years, like I could probably look back and listen to things from the show, watch things from the show, and be like, I don't know, that might have been sacrilegious.
Yeah, I think it does change depending on your faith journey as well. There are some things that I would find funny or acceptable or not that big a deal that now I just like to have no time for. So sometimes you kind of learn through that. Or yeah. So I think that can be a test as well. After you pray more, is this thing still funny? Like,
Yeah. That's why I don't pray about things I say on the show. This is all straight from my mind. Shot to the heart. You're to blame. You give Catholicism a bad name. I was going to say something, and then you punched me in my throat. What was I going to say? Oh, man. You said something.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. Actually, I'm not sorry. Good.
Wow. Yeah, they just threw a complete wrench into my heart because now
it's very rare that this happens, where I throw you off your game.
Well, it's the whole point is I do the show from my head and not from my heart, and then you just punch me in my heart and it opened, and it's like, what's going on?
That's good. That's what I like to do.
Oh, I have no idea. I just completely lost.
Maybe you should pray about what you say on the show, Taylor.
No. This is fun for me.
Okay.
It's not fun. It's good for you, but I don't know if it's fun. Coming to you next week on Forte Catholic, is prayer fun? Do you think prayer is fun?
Do I think prayer is fun? It can be. It's not always fun, but there are times when like I'm really enjoying prayer and looking forward to it and excited about it, and it's kind of fun. Not fun in the same way other things are, but like there can be that kind of levity and joyfulness and almost silliness to it sometimes when I'm praying. But other times it's just discipline. Other times it's more intense. Other times it's super angry. I think it encompasses all those things.
All right. I remembered what I was going to say.
Okay.
Part of it for me, I make fun of you. I make fun of my friends way more than I make fun of people I'm not close to or things I don't care about. Right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know if it's true, but that's kind of how I feel about sacrilege stuff. It's like, we can do it. Like Catholic memes pages that make fun of Catholics, perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. But like Protestant pages making fun of Catholics, not okay. Sam Smith taking satanic stuff and taking our stuff and making it satanic, not okay, right? Yeah. So like, I think there's something about being close to something or having a heart for something, and I think that's the point I was trying to make. It's like that people that have been listening to the show like know that my heart is mostly okay, and just now opened unexpectedly. But I think there's something to that, and like I don't know, like I don't think that's something the church would say. I think that they would say that sacrilege is sacrilege despite who's saying it or not. But that's just how I like naturally am inclined to think about it. Do you think that has anything to do with sacrilege at all?
I think there's definitely an objective line when it comes to like sacrilege. Like you are like, even if you try to do this in good humor, you just can't. Like if you were to like try to make a crack about the Blessed Virgin Mary, like probably depending on like
limits.
Off limits. You can't do that with mom. Like you can do like there's certain things that are like just no. Like any kind of joke about the Eucharist being a cookie, I'm going to just become enraged by that. I think there are some objective limits to stuff that it's too profound. So I think there's an objective and a subjective side to this.
Good. I'm more confused than ever about sacrilege, and I have no idea whether we should continue the show or not.
Well, let's at least do 2 more segments. How about that?
I mean, like, we're literally going to play a game in 2 segments where we're going to ignore 1 out of 3 saints. Like, is that okay?
That's okay. There's too many saints anyway. You can't pay attention to all of them. Come on.
All right. Well, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Forte Catholic, whether it's good or bad. Advent is right around the corner, and we would like to invite you to join Sister Miriam James Hyland on a healing journey during Advent using her book, Behold, a Guided Advent Journal for Prayer and Meditation. In this beautiful guided journal for prayer, Sister Miriam James, a Salt sister, author of the best-selling book, Restore, will walk with you as you explore familiar wounds with the help of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. I feel like I'm cussing when I say that, but I promise you that I'm not. Behold features stunning original art by Josiah Henley of Heart of Jesus, or Jesus, whichever pronunciation you enjoy. It's a free weekly. There's free weekly companion videos, a downloadable discussion guide, and other resources make this book perfect for your parish-wide, individual, or book club leading up to Christmas. Each week, Behold will focus on a different theme: motherhood, fatherhood, childhood, and the stable. So let your Let the Holy Family be your light through this Advent as you receive the healing power of Christ. The link is in the description to get the book today. Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll, and that is Father Anthony Donald Sciarappa. 2.5 stars for the middle name.
I liked it. I like my Italian middle names. Donald's really, that's a rough one.
Donny boy.
The
pipes.
Oh, no.
Okay. All right. So we talked about unholy and sacrilege in the last segment and got absolutely nowhere. So let's try to talk about holy things again, because maybe that's what we're better at. So you and I are going to Rome, Assisi, Tuscany. We're going to Italy on pilgrimage, and we want everyone to join us. That people listening, people from your parish, people from my parish, friends, family, whoever would like to join us. ForteCatholic.com/travel, or the URL you kept giving out on. So clerically speaking,
I'm really bad at like impromptu promos. I should have written something down. I didn't. I'm trying, but I'm just bad at that stuff.
Yeah, you were like selectinternationaltours.com/forte/tours/pilgrimage/1412.org/com.va, and I'm like ForteCatholic.com/travel, and then the next one you fixed it. But would you like to remind me what you called this show?
I think you call it Catholic Forte.
You did, and it pissed me off. Because again, you don't know this, but it's what everyone that has some kind of understanding of what this is, call it Catholic Forte. And it doesn't bother me when they do it. But when you did it, you've been on the show for 5 years. What's wrong with you? And I feel like here you are doing this kind thing for me. You're promoting the trip on your vastly superior and more popular podcast. And all I can be is frustrated. I should be thankful, but you keep messing with me, and I don't know what to do.
No, that's fair. That's a lot of my life has been A for effort, F for execution. It's kind of been a lot of my just existence. Like, oh, Father, you tried. You tried to give a homily. That was nice. Okay.
I tried so hard, can't seem to get away from misery. My favorite part of that song, tired of running and ducking. Quit running then, especially when I ain't did nothing. Do something then. If people are already chasing you, you might as well have done something wrong. Okay, that's, again, we're talking about unholy things. Let's talk about holy things. So we're taking this trip, a Forte Catholic pilgrimage, or as you would like to call it, a Catholic Forte pilgrimage, to Italy. And late June of next year, June 19th through 29th. You can find that all at fortecatholic.com/travel. We've told people about it, but we haven't told people about the holiness of these sites because I've never been there. This is my first time. And people that go on the trip get to see me experience these things for the first time, and I get to experience them with a lot of you for the first time. But you have been to most of these places. So I know that you very much like Assisi. So why is Assisi a holy site? So like my question ultimately is like, why go on pilgrimage? Like, why is going to a holy site holier than me sitting in my living room right now? Like, why we whether it is or we feel that, right? So why go on pilgrimage at all? I guess is my first question.
Yeah, it's kind of the whole sacramental imagination of Catholics. That's something about the physicality of a location, of a place, of a prayer helps reveal the spirituality behind it. So there's something simply about going to the place where different saints walked or worked or, did their saintly thing, where the bodies of certain saints are buried, that just helps us to pray. There's also something where it's like where if you are going to sacrifice your time and your money in order to grow closer to God, like God's going to be there for that.
So God's there more when you pay more money. Got it.
Why do you think you have to pay money to light candles in the church? If you don't pay the money, the candles don't work, Taylor. Everyone knows this. So
God loves rich people more than poor people.
Only if the rich people give their money. It's a percentage wise.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's kind of how I feel. I know it's not theologically accurate, but I think the very rich people in my parish that give more, I totally think he's blessing them more than he's blessing me.
Okay, no, but no, seriously, any kind of money, giving away money is a sacrifice, right? Giving away your time is a sacrifice, and by offering sacrifice, the Lord always responds, generously to those things. So the part of it's that, and it just helps the imagination in prayer as well. Once you've actually seen Rome, you've seen Assisi, you've seen these places where the saints have walked. It's very helpful. And there's just a normal human desire to be close to our family and friends, like to go to the place where like maybe your parents grew up, helps you understand them more. Same sort of thing where you go to the place where these saints grew up. It just helps you understand and connect with them more. Is it a necessary thing to get to heaven? Absolutely not. You can be a saint.
I want to say that at fortecatholic.com/travel, if you don't go, you're going to hell.
That being said, if it's something that you can do, it really is a beautiful gift to go on pilgrimage. And Christians from the very beginning have wanted to do this. Mary was, in a certain sense, the first pilgrim. There's a tradition of her that she would actually walk the steps that Jesus walked in Jerusalem on the way to the cross after he had died. She would retrace those steps. That was the first Stations of the Cross was done by Mary.
What's the one song that is sung during Stations of the Cross?
The Stabat Mater, at the cross her station keeping, Mary so did
okay, what's the
reaping.
second song sung out there? Were you there?
Oh yeah, sure.
And I just imagine somebody else doing it with her, and she's just like, "Yes, I was the only one there. All you people ran away. I was there."
Yes, correct.
Okay, so why? I know you love Assisi. We've talked about it before. You love Assisi, but why Assisi? And then what's your favorite part favorite place to go in the Vatican, and why?
Okay, is it wrong to say it's because of the vibes of Assisi? Like it's. I don't
Not wrong, but possibly sacrilegious.
Yes, I don't like using this word to describe Catholic things, but Assisi's kind of magical. Just everything from the geography of it to everything about it. My goodness, just being there is just, you feel something different when you're there. I don't know how else to describe it. But more concretely, you get to see the little church where St. Francis first rebuilt that church, thinking that God was very literally asking him to rebuild this chapel. And it's very funny. So you've got this tiny, tiny little church about the size of like my rectory room. And then this gigantic basilica is built over top of it. So you've got a church in the church kind of deal. And it's like, I find that very funny. I don't know why.
You tried, St. Francis, but we can do it better.
Exactly. It's like, that was cute, Frankie. But, there's just Assisi itself is the town built on this like hill is really cool. Just walking through the little alleyways and stuff. It's gorgeous. You have the Church of St. Clare there, the Church of St. Francis. You have one of the oldest churches. It used to be an old Roman temple that's been turned into a church as well. You get to see where St. Francis was basically thrown in jail in his parents' house by his dad. You can see that little tiny room. My goodness. Also, like the food's really good there too. Just taking the train out to Assisi, seeing the countryside is amazing. It's a place that I just always want to spend more time there whenever I'm there.
Well, good. We're going to spend, I think, 3 days there.
It's
we're
super
going
exciting.
to start in the Vatican, though. What's your favorite place in the Vatican and why?
Okay, yeah, Rome is amazing. It's just a very cool, weird city. It's not really built on a grid, so you can just be like traveling along these little alleyways, and all of a sudden there's this big piazza, this big like open area.
Mike Piazza?
Yes, Mike Piazza is there, and he's gigantic.
He's so huge.
He's such a big boy. So just that part of a lot of parts of Rome. Also, like there were a few times I've gone to Rome where I've been with a group, and I've been like, and I won't do this on our trip because I'm going to stay with the people who want to hang out with us. But I have just like disappeared from the group and just wandered around the city. And you're like, oh, here's a gigantic, gorgeous church. Let's check that one out. Sweet. It's really cool. Oh, who's that dead saint? Oh, really cool. That's Saint, what's his face? That's amazing. Okay, I'll keep walking around. Oh my God, there's another church. This is amazing.
So many dead Catholics. Hooray!
Yes. One of my favorite places, I was trying to, with a map, because I didn't have a phone working, my map and my eyeballs, trying to find the Church of the Jesu, which is where St. Ignatius is buried, because St. Ignatius of Loyola is one of my favorite saints, and just kind of trying to find a place, trying to find it, and all of a sudden stumbling across it, going inside, seeing this gorgeous church, being able to pray before. where his body was super, super cool. Also, it's really even like, you have to be careful. There are some tourist trap places in Rome, but even like the food that's a tourist trap is still pretty good. But there are also like a lot of great restaurants. Like, it's hard to go wrong.
That McDonald's will get you every time.
There is McDonald's by the Pantheon. At least there was. But yeah, it's just a really cool city to kind of get lost in. And you'll see as you get closer to the Vatican, to the Vatican City, the St. Peter's is, the only way I can describe it is it's too big. Like, you walk in there like, this should not. How is this a possible thing? And you look around like, there's so much stuff in this space. This is so big. And it breaks your brain. It's really, really cool. There's nothing else, like no other building I've been inside. It's just very, very big. And you get to see like the original Pietà. Even this, I've been able to go to the sacristy because I'm a priest, because I've said mass and been a part of masses in there. And even like the sacristy is gorgeous. Like, everything about it is amazing. And it's just very, very big. And then, of course, being able to actually see where St. Peter is buried. And it's like, historically speaking and scientifically speaking, like, that's it. Like, there's a ton of evidence that he's buried right underneath the main altar at St. Peter's. That's wild. It's like, those are Peter's bones. That's wild.
It's crazy to know where a person from 2,000 years ago is buried.
Right? Like, that's it.
Insane.
It's nuts. It's nuts. And you go a little bit outside Rome where, St. Paul, outside the walls where St. Paul, it's crazy. It's crazy. You feel really close to these people. It reminds you how close they always are to you. That's the kind of the sacramental nature of a pilgrimage.
Gotcha. So the saints aren't close to you until you go to Rome and then come back, and then they stay with you forever. ForteCatholic.com/travel to go on pilgrimage with us. We've got 6 people signed up already, and I know a lot of you have said, hey, we're interested. Just sign up. Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
If you have questions, let me know. I'd love to talk to you about it. Reach out on social media or through the website, ForteCatholic.com. Again, that's ForteCatholic.com/travel, or that dumb URL that Father Anthony very kindly shared on his podcast.
And if you're going to go, this is the best way to do it. With a group, with people who can explain stuff to you, it really is a nice way to experience Rome as easy for the first time.
Yeah, and we have guides that live there, that are from there, that can explain everything to us. I mean, obviously, Father Anthony has some experience. I'm going to be learning along with everybody in the group, so I'm really excited. And I really want people to come with us.
I'm just going to be lying the entire time. I'm going to be making stuff up about everything that we see. I'll be giving the alternate history to Rome and all the saints. It's going to be great.
I think that's sacrilegious. All right. I heard something on people who have been listening to the show know that one of my favorite podcasts is The Happiness Lab with Dr. Lori Santos. She's a Harvard professor, and she studies happiness. And I love the show because it's like it's showing scientifically how to be happier, and most of those things line up perfectly with what the church has said brings happiness and joy for years and years and years and years. Like, they're quoting the church fathers. They're quoting not Aquinas, Aristotle, Plato, all these things that Christians have known how to find joy and happiness for years, and it's just very funny that there's just cutting edge science that's saying the same stuff that we've been saying for thousands of years. It's kind of cool.
There you go.
But it's a fun show, and I really enjoy it. They had Mickey Hart on the show the other day. Do you have any idea who Mickey Hart is?
I do not know this person.
Have you ever heard of the Grateful Dead?
Yeah.
They're known as the Saints in the Catholic world, but they're known as a band from like the 70s in the American world. So the Grateful Dead was a band. And do you know the term that Mickey Hart coined?
I couldn't even name a song he wrote, let alone a term he coined, to be honest. Okay. No, I don't.
He was the first person in around the 70s. He was the first person to coin the term YOLO. You only live once. Yep. That word that took over millennials' entire lives in like the mid 2000s to late 2000s, early 2010s. YOLO was by the drummer of the Grateful Dead, whose name is Mickey Hart, who's super old now.
Yeah, that's wild.
So when you hear YOLO, like what does YOLO tend to mean in today over the last decade? I think it was popular when I was in college, you were in seminary, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like a war cry that you shout before you do something incredibly stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I am about to do something dumb. I need to yell a word. The word I yell is YOLO.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, it's this whole like every song from the 2010s was, it's all about tonight. We only have tonight. It's all about what we do tonight and the people around us and drinking and drugs and on women or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
It's all about tonight. No repercussions tomorrow. Mm-hmm. No dealing with our decisions. Nope. You only live once and it's all about tonight. But what's really interesting is that that's not what Mickey Hart meant. That's what, idiots 40 years ago twisted it into meaning. And by idiots, I totally mean me and my friends.
Absolutely. Nothing better than yelling YOLO before having your next drink. It's great. It's a great time.
What he meant is what most Christians would mean when they hear you only live once. Mm-hmm. You only get one life, and you have to use it well. You have to, that's what he meant. And what he meant was like he wanted to build something that lasts. He's like, you only live once, so I want to build something that lasts. So like with the band, like he was in a band that we're still talking about 50 years later, right?
Yeah.
Like they lasted. They were very popular for a very long time. He's still popular enough to do interviews on popular podcasts. Like he built something that lasts, but also he talked about like buying a farm in his older age and like building it up and building something that lasts, right? So like it was really interesting because it broke the like common understanding of YOLO, which is like, let's just have another drink and not worry about the consequences and do whatever I want to right now, no matter what happens. Right.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's not like, oh, you only live once, I'm going to have another drink. But for me, it's like, oh, I only live once, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to order DoorDash right now. When the repercussions are, I keep doing that and I'm getting fatter. Like that's like, I have to deal, like there's repercussions for those choices. Right.
Yes.
And then I think like the common understanding, I was like, you only get one life is like the common Christian understanding. So like live well, don't sin, pray, go to mass.
Yeah.
But his thing actually broke open a new thing that I hadn't thought of, right? Where he talked about let's build something that lasts. Like he's talking about a legacy, right? And I was like, man, I want to build something that lasts. Like whether it's like I want my life to mean something, right? Like sure. I want to and so I started thinking about like from my family, like hopefully my kids outlive me, right? Like that's the goal of every parent. It's like that's something that will outlive me. Hopefully, whether it's Forte Catholic itself or just an impact that I can make on people and try to help move Catholic media forward in a good way. Hopefully there's an impact there. Hopefully the people that I work with in ministry, hopefully like their lives continue, I impact their life impacts their kids or their families or whatever, right? So like it was cool because like the YOLO of the common understanding is all about me. Mm-hmm. When the YOLO of his understanding is like, I'm in this and I'm central in this, but it's on behalf of leaving something for after I'm gone. And I just thought it was like revolutionary for me of like, I want to build something that lasts.
That's really cool. I like the Lonely Island interpretation of YOLO. I don't know if you saw their video where it's you only live once, so you lock yourself in a padded room because you could die at any moment. You got to be safe. You only live once, which I like as well. But getting back to this other thing about I mean, and the Christian, I think sometimes we have to be careful with this idea of legacy. Like it's what you talked about, like having raising your children to be good human beings that outlast you. Like there's that is the noble vocation of the parents, because ultimately that means that you are giving them the foundation they need so that they pursue Jesus Christ in their life, that they accept his love and mercy, so you can all be happy in heaven one day. Like that's great. I think the Christian always has to look at any kind of legacy with in the view of eternity. So to establish and build something up in this world is only worthwhile if it helps get people to heaven. And that can be with things that are seemingly kind of small. Something like a podcast in view of eternity or 2,000 years of church history doesn't seem very big. but it can touch individual souls, and souls last for forever. So in a weird way, even something silly like a podcast, that if you build, can have effects on eternity. So I think that's the one little bit of a twist to, or addition to that idea, because people can, like, there's a bunch of people we remember and have statues of, like Genghis Khan. Like, we all remember him. He had a legacy. I don't know if that helped him get to heaven, though. I don't know if he'll have right? So it might last a while in history, but won't last a while in eternity.
Yeah. The last point that I got from Mickey Hart on the Happiness Lab was he was talking about, like, if you want something to last, you have to choose for it to last and, like, decide to be in something for the long haul. Mm-hmm. And what that did was it got rid of decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is terminology that we have now. But it's, he realized it back then, where he's just like, I'm just going to decide to do this thing and I'm sticking with it. And it takes the decision fatigue of, like, what am I going to do today? How am I going to work towards this long-term goal, instead of what am I doing with my life every single day and just being exhausted by that decision, right? So he talked about, like, the band and, like, buying a farm. It's like, that's not something, you don't buy a farm on Tuesday and be like, I'm not into it, like, Thursday. Like, that'd be stupid, right? Like, you buy a farm knowing, like, with the idea, knowing that, like, you want to be in this for the long haul. You think about, like, buying a house, like, or buying a car, like, all those things, like, you don't get the value out of them that day, but if you stay in a house for a long time, it will grow in value. I thought about marriage. Like, when you're dating, there's decision fatigue. Do I want to date this person? Do I want to date that person? Should I call this person? Should I not call this person? All that's gone when you get married, right? Mm-hmm. For a good Catholic marriage, it's like, there's no decision on if we're staying together, because we made that decision once. And, we spent a year or two deciding whether or not we were going to make the decision. Once we made the decision, we're in it for the long haul, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, I'm working on this thing for the long haul. When it comes to the decision to have kids, it's not like you're gonna, like, I want to have a kid today. Never mind. I'm gonna take out my 10-year-old. As even though there are days that I might want that, we're in this for the long haul, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, professionally, it's like, oh, what should I be doing with my time? Like, and I have found that, like, every now and then I have some decision fatigue on what I should be doing with my time, and it's like, I need to make those bigger, overarching decisions on what is the best that Forte Catholic should be doing? What should we be focusing on, right? But the good news is like, I've decided that I'm doing this Forte Catholic thing for the long haul. Yeah. And it, like, I don't have to decide, am I going to do this today? Am I going to do that? It's like, I have stuff to do, So I just thought that was really interesting too. Like, it wasn't, you only live once. In the common understanding of it means I'm just thinking about right now. But when he said it, it was, I'm thinking about this one decision that I'm going to think about, really come to a decision on, and then I'm not going to really have to think about it because I'm just going to keep going with that decision. Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of the freedom of a vocation. You say this one big yes, and it removes. It's actually very free. Yes. There's even less decision fatigue. I didn't have to even date anybody. The answer was like, nope, not doing any of that. No decisions. No, but seriously, it's that it makes you free to pursue the thing that you ultimately want to pursue. Because you said this big yes, you've said no to other things, and you just live your life in that way. It's actually one of the things that that helped me. I noticed that in little things, when I have to do things that maybe interrupt my schedule because I'm a priest, I have to go out and do an anointing or do this. There's no weighing of should I go do that or not? It's like, well, I'm a priest, time to go do the thing that priests do. And there's something actually incredibly freeing about that. Yeah,
that's great. Well, you've picked your thing. Well, you're going to stick with it. I've picked my thing I'm going to stick with. Actually, more. I got, the professional stuff. I got my my show here. I've got my family. And all those are wrapped up into one for you. So,
yeah.
So anyway, YOLO, Father Anthony.
YOLO indeed, good sir.
All right, we'll be right back. With your help, we are inching closer and closer to becoming becoming YouTube partners over on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Forte Catholic. We've already met all of the requirements for subscribers and consistency and all those things. The last thing that we need is total watch time in a year. So since I've been mentioning it to you, we started off with 0 watch hours out of the 4,000 watch hours needed. With your help, we are up to 2,500 as of this week. So essentially all that means for you is go check out some of our videos on YouTube. Watch them. Heck, you don't even need your eyeballs to watch them. Just hit play on a playlist and walk away. Either way, we hope that you're enjoying the great content that we have over on YouTube. Let me tell you about some of it. Not only do we have full-length videos of our episodes of the podcast, we also have our Foundation series, which is a Catholicism 101 teaching series that we are doing that we've been talking about a lot on the show. We are 7 weeks through a 10-week series on basic things that Catholics need to know. So whether you're new to Catholicism or you've been around Catholicism a long time and want to brush up on some things me and a couple other people, including a few master's degrees, share about just like 30-minute sessions on some of the basic teachings of the church. We also have new videos in our A Catholic Perspective series, which is looking at some of our favorite TV, movies, that sort of thing, through a Catholic lens from a Catholic worldview. 2 of our newest videos there are I tackled Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, my thoughts on that movie, and good old Morbius. That was for spooky season, so we hope that you guys can check out those today. A bunch of great stuff too, as talks, music, all of that is at youtube.com/Forte Catholic. Head on over, hit subscribe, and maybe watch a couple of videos. It would be truly helpful for us. We are closing in on that goal, and it's going to be huge for us. Whenever we get partnered, YouTube will start sharing our videos more to people. It helps us in the algorithm, and also we can force Google to give Forte Catholic some of its money. So thank you guys for your support on that. We are moving and cruising because of you guys, and we are almost there. So go check out the videos. Hope you enjoy them. Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll. That is Father Anthony Donnie Boy Sciarappa.
It's killing me. It's killing me, man.
Oh, it's great. I love it. I love it so much. You got to keep everybody on their toes. So we are going to play one of our favorite games that may or may not be sacrilegious. We'll let you decide. Called Imitate, Intercess, or Ignore. It's a popular game with high school kids. It goes by a different name, but we're not going to play that version. We're going to play this game. So we're going to give each other a list of 3 saints, and that person has to choose who in that list they want to imitate, who they want to ask for the intercessions of, and which of those 3 they are going to ignore. So I did a good old theme for mine, Father Anthony, because November, which is the month that we currently find ourselves in, starts off with what good feast day for good old Catholics?
All Saints Day.
All Saints Day. And I texted you at like 10:30 at night on All Saints Day telling you that I found out what at 10:30 at night?
That All Saints Day is a holy day of obligation.
Yeah, I found out a little late.
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough.
I was real busy. I was like, well, that's a great time to find out. Anyway, I'll know for next year. I think the whole not having church for 2 years really messed with me.
Yeah, that really has, like, because they changed like holy days. It's a big mess. It's a big mess.
Something about Mondays and something. It was on a Tuesday. You know, like
a holy day of obligation on a Monday. Gross. Well, yeah, you just went to church. Ridiculous.
Yeah, the U.S. bishops say we don't have to unless it's like Christmas or something. Like we've talked about those rules around Christmas.
They are very silly.
Yeah, it's just Catholicism is so weird, man. And most of the time I'm on top of it. Sometimes it catches me, It really caught me this last week. But All Saints Day, I thought we'd bring back one of my favorite games, Imitate, Intercess, or Ignore. And I have a theme for mine. All of these saints that I'm going to give you are from the month of November. So people can, hopefully learn about some saints that you might not, or might not have heard of, or some that you might have heard of, but you can know that you can celebrate them this month. I'm going to start with 2 of these feast days that we celebrated over the last few days. So they should be pretty high on your mind because you should have celebrated a mass around them because, in your case, if you forgot about a holy day of obligation at 10:30, you could just say mass for yourself. I don't have those powers.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So 2 from earlier this week. St. Martin de Porres. Who is one of my favorite saints. I went to a St. Martin de Porres parish down in the valley in Texas when I went on a mission trip. Had a really cool experience there. Long story short about him is he was an African, not African American, but an African guy, black guy who wanted to be a priest, and they said no because he was black. And then he, amongst other things, would levitate whenever they gave him the Eucharist because they let him be the janitor at the monkery or whatever they call him. So they finally let him in because he was floating every time he received communion. St. Charles Borromeo, November 4th, who's the patron saint of
seminaries?
Maybe stomach issues. That's why I know him.
Oh, okay.
And then Saint Cecilia is on November 22nd, patron saint of music, virgin martyr. So of those three, which one do you want to imitate? Which one do you want to intercede for you? And which one are you going to ignore?
Oh man, those are three really good saints. So I think imitate is going to be St. Charles Borromeo, because if I remember correctly, he was a great reformer in the church. And I don't know what you think, but I feel like the church could use some reform nowadays. That's the vibe I'm getting. Like we could be doing a better job.
There's that word again.
Yeah. So for him, absolutely. Also, I just remember one seminarian when I was in seminary calling him St. Charles Borromeo, and that's just stuck in my brain forever. He's St. Charles Borromeo.
Borromeo and Juliet.
Yes, exactly. Borromeo. Okay. I'm going to have oh, man. If I say... I can't say I want Saint. If I'll be canceled if I say St. Martin, I'm going to ignore.
But here's the thing. Remember our first segment that didn't go well, and remember the thing that you said you didn't care about at all, and she's the patron saint of it.
Yes, true.
See, this is why this game is a trap.
You know what? I'm just gonna go for it. I just know more about Saint Cecilia than I do Saint Martin de Porres, and I think her feast day she has a feast. I think Martin de Porres is only a memorial. I think he's an optional memorial, so I'm going to ignore him. I think St. Cecilia has a higher feast day, so I'm going to ask her to intercede for me.
So you're what's very funny about this, I'm not going to say the thing that people think that I'm going to say, but what I am going to say is that you said that St. Charles Borromeo is a great reformer, and yet you find yourself ignoring St. Martin de Porres just like all the clerics did in his famous story.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going to get canceled eventually. Let's do it here on Forte Catholic, on CatholicForte.com /travel to places.
You can't get canceled when no one knows how to get here. Okay. Mm-hmm. You have a set for me.
I do. And I picked this theme out of much discernment prayer. Basically, you said, hey, Father Anthony, just do October Saints. I said, that sounds great. So this one's going to be fun.
So what you're saying is you don't pray about what you say on this show?
No, on this show, absolutely not. Yeah. I barely think about the show. I barely think about the words I'm saying as I'm saying them on this show. There's no reflection.
It is so clear.
Right? Pray about the show. Anyway, let's do the archangels. Saint Michael, who is like God, taking out Satan. Saint Gabriel, the one who brought the message to Mary. And Saint Raphael, the guy who cured someone's poopy eyeball. Who's are you gonna imitate? Who are you gonna ask to intercede, and who are you gonna ignore out of the archangels?
I mean, but I say the St. Michael prayer before I go to sleep every single night because I don't want bad dreams and to see demons, and I've said that every night since I was like 14 years old. So I'm gonna have St. Michael intercede for me because I feel like I miss it one time, the demons will wake me up. I'm very superstitious about that prayer. I'm gonna imitate. I'm gonna imitate Saint Raphael. Saint Raphael, as you like to call him for some weird reason. I mean,
he's how you pronounce it. That's cool.
Cowabunga. He's just clearly Raphael. Raphael. So I'm going to imitate him because I love the story of him, like, clearing somebody's eyesight through bird poop. I mean, I feel like that's just how I do ministry. So I want to imitate that. I want to imitate everything about what Saint Raphael does. Okay. And I'm gonna ignore Saint Gabriel, because I feel like he just like came in, said a few words, and then bounced. Like, I mean, the words that he said were, I guess pretty cool. Like, hey, God's gonna become human. Like, he had his moment, right? But he had his 15 seconds of fame. And like I said in the last segment, I want to build something that lasts a little bit longer, and not just like show up and confuse a 14-year-old girl and then leave. So.
Describe an angel's job poorly. That's
I don't think it was poorly at all. I think it's pretty accurate. Okay.
Mary's like, what does this mean? Gabriel, don't worry about it. Okay.
He's like a robot. Like you can't ask it questions. It just has its message. Alexa, what does that mean? She's just like, I don't know what you mean. I can only say the answers that I've been given.
I think Gabriel makes an appearance in the book of Daniel. Don't quote me on that. Anyway, your turn. Give me some saints.
All right, November 10th, which is obviously the feast day of
that saint that some people like.
Saint Leo the Great. Saint Leo the Great is from the 5th century.
Yes.
He's famous for his confrontation with Attila the Hun. You mentioned somebody along those lines earlier, didn't you?
Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan, yeah.
Spiritual successor of Attila.
Attila the Hun. He was coming to sack and pillage Rome. I'm glad he didn't, because our trip next year would suck. But Saint Leo the Great walked out to him and essentially through words is like, hey, you don't want to do this. This is God's city. And his hill's like, okay, and he leaves, right? St. Martin of Tours is the next day on November 11th, the patron saint of the military. He gave a beggar half of his cloak because a beggar was asking for it was cold. He gave him half of his cloak, and that beggar turned out to be Jesus. And then appearing as Jesus, like it wouldn't 2,000 years ago. Sometime between now and then. And then St. Francis Xavier Cabrini, one that I've never heard of. Let's just put it this way. I've heard of St. Francis, I've heard of St. Xavier, and I've heard of St. Cabrini. I just didn't know that St. Cabrini could have 3 saint names, So 3 whole saint names. November 11th is her feast day. She immigrated to the United States and started schools, hospitals, orphanages. She's the patron saint of immigrants. So St. Leo the Great, St. Martin of Tours, St. Francis Xavier Cabrini, imitate, intercess, ignore.
Okay, so I'm just really prejudiced against Martins. So I'm just gonna ignore St. Martin Torres. Like, just go away. I don't care about you. I want
that's not St. Martin's brother. It's St. Martin of Tours, not de Torres.
Yeah, whatever. Goodbye. If your name's Martin, don't care about you. Just gonna. Martin Luther has his name is Martin too.
Yes, but so was Martin Luther King. So I'm seeing a theme pop up.
Oh no! I was like trying to turn this into a joke, and you brought it back to. Anyway, I want Francis Xavier Cabrini to pray for me, to intercede for me, because I like it when nuns intercede for me. I feel like their prayers, even when they're in heaven, are just better. And then Leo the Great's pretty cool. And he's great, so I want to be great. So I'm gonna imitate his greatness. That's what I'm gonna do.
All right. I feel like you just need to stand out in front of your the door to your big fancy church. You can't come in here. You can't come in here to like cars passing by.
Yes.
All right, your turn.
All right. We have Saint Jude the Apostle, also known as the patron saint of lost causes. And we make sure in scripture that he's definitely not Judas. That's why we change his name a little bit. St. Margaret Mary Alacoque, which I always mess up her last name, but she's the lady who started the whole devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And then John Paul II, one of the newest saints, and he was Polish, and he was the Pope, and pretty nice guy, so I hear. Who do you want to intercede for you? Who are you going to imitate? Who are you going to ignore?
Okay, who is the first one again?
The first one is St. Jude the Apostle, patron saint of lost causes. Definitely not Judas.
Okay, St. Jude, St. John Paul II, St. Margaret Mary Alacoque. I'm going to ignore St. Margaret Mary Alacoque because I feel like she came up with the devotion to the Sacred Heart like way too late. Like, Jesus' heart was sacred from the get-go, and she's just like, I'm gonna tell you that this is that Jesus' heart is sacred. It's like, that's not news. Like, that's I don't know what you want me to do there.
Right? It was like she was flipping through like the devotions. I need to come up with a devotion. Like, wait, nobody took this one? Nobody? Heck yeah.
Okay, remind me of the first one again. I keep forgetting.
St. Jude.
St. Jude. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I have interesting thoughts about St. Jude. I want to imitate St. John Paul II. I think he did great for evangelization. I think he did great for youth ministry. He did great for the world. He fought against communists, and I don't think I'm going to fight against communists, but I just think the way that he was able to share the faith strongly but lovingly is something that I would like to imitate. I'm going to have St. Jude intercede for me because of the obvious joke.
You are a lost cause.
Right. But I can't imitate him. And this one's not really even his fault. Mm-hmm. But again, you don't like Martin because of other Martins associated, right? The fact that St. Jude's Hospital is a hospital for kids with cancer.
Oh, no, yeah.
Thus insinuating that they're hopeless causes.
Oh.
I hate that so much, and I've hated it for years. We have a St. Jude's in Houston that's really popular and good. It's the best place. If a kid has cancer, it's the best place to go. We have kids from our community. We have kids from the community that grew up in that went to St. Jude's and have been healed, right? But I hate the fact that it's just hey, you're a hopeless cause. Come on in. No! That's not the message that I want coming in. So I'm going to ask for his intercession, but I'm not going to imitate that at all.
You know
I'm
what?
Be nice to people in stress.
I kind of get it. That's yeah. Okay.
All right. Last one from me to you. Okay.
All right. Let's do it.
We might have some bias here in this one. The first one is St. Albert the Great. You like great?
Yeah.
He's among the first great natural scientists. He was great at math, physics, and chemistry, and made a lot of breakthroughs there. He advanced human rationale for faith and is the patron saint of scientists. His feast is on November 15th. St. Albert the Great. The next one, St. Andrew, who's originally a disciple of Jabap. He's the one that Jesus asked, "Who do you seek?" And then Jesus, who do you seek? And then Jesus told him that he would be a fisher of men. So he's the patron saint of fishermen, which is hilarious because he told him he's going to patron saint him, be a fisher of men, and now he's the patron of men fishing for fish. November 30th, St. Andrew.
Full circle. Yeah.
And then Our Lady of Seven Joys. I didn't know this existed. November 13th, the Seven Joys of Our Lady, the opposite of the popular devotion, Our Lady of Seven Sorrows, the Annunciation, the Visitation, the birth of our Lord, the adoration of Jesus by the Magi, the finding of the child Jesus in the temple, the resurrection of the Lord, and the Assumption of Mary in body and soul into heaven. So your three options are St. Albert the Great, St. Andrew the Apostle, and Our Lady of Seven Joys.
Oh, it's good. So I like St. Albert the Great because in Latin it's Albertus Magnus, and that just sounds awesome. He's also he goes
to Hogwarts.
Yeah, he does. Albertus Magnus goes to Hogwarts for sure. He also was the teacher of Thomas Aquinas, who went to was a Gryffindor, obviously. Or would he be a Hufflepuff? I think he'd be a Hufflepuff. Anyway, so I like him. St. Andrew's really intense. I think he was the apostle who was skinned alive. And there's some really cool statues of him just holding his own skin, which is weird. Okay, so Our Lady's going to intercede for me
right now, but it's just
but holding, what I mean. Our Lady of Seven Joys, I want Mary to intercede for me. Absolutely. There's imitating her, that's way too hard, but having her intercede for me, maybe bringing some more joy, love it. And then I'm going to ignore St. Albert because I don't want to go back to school. I don't want to learn more. I'm done learning. And then I'll try to imitate St. Andrew and be a better fisher of men because that's part of my job is to bring men and women to Jesus.
There you go. And again, I like this game a lot. People could say it's sacrilegious to say that we're ignoring saints, but I learned about Our Lady of Seven Joys. I never prep for this show. I don't do any mental prep, and I clearly don't pray about it. I just have thoughts, and I write them down on my phone, and they come out. But I did actual research for this. I looked up November saints. It took me time, and I learned about Our Lady of Seven Joys. And it pisses me off that nobody talks about it because all I've heard about my entire life was Our Lady of Seven Sorrows. And Catholics, you can be joyful. It's okay.
You can be joyful about 7 different things. That's so exciting.
It's so great. Okay, final one.
Oh. I have to give you one.
You sure do.
Let's see. Who
you have
do
to give me the 3 saints that I gave you that you can pretend that you're giving to me. Yes.
Wait a second. I don't have any other saints written down. Okay. Let's do saints I talked about.
Have you done 3 already?
I did 3. No.
You did 3?
Yes, archangels, Therese of Lisieux, and
You didn't do the Therese of Lisieux.
Oh, I didn't do that. I skipped that one.
I did the prep for you.
You did. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Saint Therese of Lisieux.
Ignore.
We all know her as the little flower. Everyone knows her. Saint Francis of Assisi, whose dead body you're going to see. Or sort of see. Or anyway, go to this church. And then Saint Faustina, who popularized the devotion of the Divine Mercy. Polish lady. Who are you going to imitate? Who are you going to ask to intercede for you? Who are you going to ignore?
I'm going to ignore St. Therese of Lisieux. I have gone off multiple times on the show how I think it's absolutely insane that she is the patron saint of missionaries when she never went anywhere. She famously stayed in one place and just prayed. That's a very holy thing to do, but you shouldn't be the patron saint of missionaries. There are people who went hundreds of thousands of miles and got skinned alive, and she's just sitting in her bunk bed. It makes me so angry. You don't know that. St. Francis of Assisi, I'm going to imitate him by walking in his footsteps in about 7 months, hopefully with a lot of listeners. ForteCatholic.com/travel. Come to Rome and Assisi and Tuscany with us. And I'm going to ask for the intercession of St. Faustina because of the Divine Mercy. I've loved the Divine Mercy Chaplet for a while, primarily because you can use a rosary and look like you're praying a rosary, but it takes about 1/10 of the time.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the right answer.
But also, it's people could ask. It's why are you loving the Divine Mercy whenever you were dogging on the Sacred Heart when the Sacred Heart was so obvious? I think so many Catholics don't understand the mercy of God. So I think the emphasis on God's divine mercy is so incredibly important, and not just being Jesus' heart is holy. It's more of my experience of receiving mercy from God. So I would like
you can use that voice to make any devotion sound silly, though. Oh, Jesus is merciful.
Jesus, receive Jesus in body, blood, soul, and divinity.
Oh, Mary's got 7 whole joys.
I had 8 yesterday.
Coming full circle to sacrilege, I guess.
Yeah, I'm about to say, we're going to call that my sacrilege voice. All right, well, this was a show. We sure did it.
We did.
It's complete, and this might line up, it might line up very well with that 1-star review that we got. I enjoyed myself a lot. I'm just not sure if the audience is going to.
Yeah, at this point, doesn't matter. This is what they get.
At this point, the if you stuck around this far, you have to come to Italy with us. ForteCatholic.com/travel. I'm Taylor Schroll. That is Danny Sciarappa. I'll be back next week. He'll be back next month. See ya! Thank you guys for watching and listening today. We hope that you enjoyed this very exhilarating and chaotic episode. If you did, please hit subscribe wherever you are watching or listening. And you know what? Share with a friend, man. Who needs this episode? Who wants to hear a layperson and a priest argue and bicker and laugh throughout a little over an hour? Maybe some of your friends do. Share it on your socials. Text it to somebody. Maybe you're mad at your parents, want to give them some penance. Send on the show, man. We hope that they enjoyed it as you did. So thanks, and we'll see you very, very soon. Love you.